Good morning, fellow adventurers. It's day 33, and we had just arrived in Walvis Bay, Namibia. We shuttled straight to the airport to get on our chartered plane to go down to the southern area, to an area called Sossusvlei. As we were flying, the desert started to change color to this dark, rusty orange color, which was the area that we'd be spending the next few days. We went out that evening for a ride to look at the desert, all of the landmarks, the different rocks, sand dunes, etc. And on our way back, there was lights in the desert. And my guide said, "Oh, that's the airstrip being lit up." And me, being gullible as I can be, I believed him. But in actuality, what they had done is they had set up dinner for us and all of the guests in the desert by candlelight, and it was really something special, especially when the staff came in and started singing these Namib songs where they were singing and chanting for us. The next morning, up at 4:30, getting ready to go to Sossusvlei National Park. We drove about a half an hour, and then we went to the first sand dune called number 45, the most pictured sand dune in the world, but we were in a big hurry to get to the Big Daddy. And on the road there, we went quickly because the sand dunes get very hot at a certain point because it was around 95 degrees that day, even though it was very arid temperature. So on our race to the top, we took off our shoes and we headed up this steep sand dune. In fact, the pictures you see don't even show how steep it is. And it's so steep that you could actually fall and you would roll down to the bottom and it would be very difficult to get back up. The steepness in the sand dunes is caused by wind on both sides of the sand dune coming to a peak and creating a right angle. And we walked on that angle in order to get to the top of the Big Mama. It was quite an effort and a triumph, as it took us just under 2 hours to get the top between taking breaks for drinking, and we were very excited to get to the top since so few people attempt this task. Once on the top, it was very exciting. You could see all around you, every single sand dune, and down below there was this dried up ocean bed that had turned into clay, with some trees at the end, the very far end, which was hard to see from the top. But anyhow, we went down. It was like snowshoeing down a mountain where you'd pick up your legs and you would just run down in the powder with your feet first, and it only took a couple minutes to get to the bottom. As we walked back to the car, I was very surprised because our guide was preparing a gourmet breakfast for us in the bush. The next morning, we went out on our ATVs into the desert on the sand dunes, and we saw all kinds of different animals, insects, and plant life in these desert dunes. To name a few, there were oryx, zebras, jackals, ostrich, kudus, and all kinds of different species of birds and fowl. I've never spent much time in a desert and had no idea how much wildlife there was out in these deserts. I have a newfound appreciation for desert life after our experiences in Sossusvlei. We stayed at the Sossusvlei Desert Lodge, and I would be amiss if I would not have mentioned the great guide that we had, Nelson. He was passionate about the desert and shared his knowledge and love for this area with both Larry and I, which really made our trip special. We are in the Namib Desert. This desert's up to 80 million years old. It is the oldest desert on the planet. And our guide, Nelson, named after Nelson Mandela, he's the best ever, and he's been taking us all over Sossusvlei here in Namibia.
Stonehenge.
And they call this Stonehenge. This is an outcropping in the middle of the desert. There is absolutely nothing else here but sand. And in the middle of all of this, then you get the desert.
In closing, my wish for you is that you will love abundantly, protect your health, and be adventurous for life. You are beautiful. Let your light shine. Aloha.